Hi, I'm KB with Nerdophiles. How are each of you?
Very
Hi,
well,
Hey,
thank
what's up,
you.
KB.
KB? Nice to meet you.
Nice to
Doing well?
meet
Nice to
you.
How are
nice to
you?
meet you all. I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Good.
Okay, so it's quite the love triangle here that we have with Lennie at the center. So I will start with you, Grace. Lennie is grieving and at the core of it, really trying to figure out how to do life without her mom and now her sister. So she bonds
Mm.
with Toby over their mutual grief and then with Joe over their love of music. So what do you think is the greatest lesson that Lennie learns from each of them that helps her kind of find herself and her healing?
Mm. Oh, that's such a great question. I think in terms of her connection with Toby, um, I think it's so vital because he's truly, at least Lennie, Lennie feels as though like she's so alone in her grief and what she's going through, but she's not, because Toby is also experiencing that, just as deeply, and is really the only other person that Lennie feels like understands her in that way. So he makes it, he's really easy to talk to, and she feels like she can connect with him on this level that's just so deep and so brutal. They talk about stuff that is just, I don't know, you hear some of their conversations and you're almost like, oh, like, how can you talk about that? Like, that's just, that's not really what you talk about, but they do it and they spark those conversations. And that's what I think is so important. And I think Lennie, just from that relationship, that connection, I think that she learns, that she's not alone, and that there are people who understand. And then in terms of her relationship and her connection with Joe, I think that kind of on the opposite end, I think he kind of acts like this light in her life, and shows her that life is, it's meant to be celebrated, and that she doesn't feel alone in that sense. He shows her that there is hope to the future, and that, I've kind of tied in this idea that, like, I think those we lose wouldn't want us to spend our lives, grieving our life away. It's meant to be lived, it's meant to be enjoyed while you still have it. So I think that that's kind of what he shows her. Yeah.
I love that. And so for the two of you, there is kind of so much heaviness on screen almost every time we see Toby, just really due to that grief. And then there's so much lightness when we see Joe due to that hope that you said. And I actually just talked to Josephine a little bit about the intentionality of portraying kind of that duality between the two of your characters in the camera work. And so for you two as actors, kind of when working in your scenes together, in your scenes with Grace, and even off camera, how did you play off of each other? And I'll start with you, Jacques.
Well, there's a lot of music that we make together, Lenny and Joe. And so I feel like that's kind of the cornerstone of their relationship to each other. It's kind of it's the basis of their meet cute, and it carries them as the backbone of their entire emotional arc together in the movie. And it's it's ardent, it's passionate, it's beautiful, and I think that it plays a nice contrast to Lenny's relationship to Toby, because Jandy Nelson called Joe the son, right? And I feel like when I learned the trumpet for the movie, and it feels like a real true iteration of his character, because every time I play it, it's this loud, piercing note that just reaches up to the sky and moves the clouds out of the way to let the light in. And Jandy and I had talked about that, and I feel like that's what Joe is for her. And he understands you need to feel grief to feel your joy, but also be about your joy. And like that's what it's about for me. Jacques, as a person with the character too, that's got to spend time with him, is like Joe's about his joy. He laughs and celebrates life, and it's a component of yeah, this dualism that you're talking about, that's necessary for that balance.
I like that. And for you, Pico, certainly not least, you might be last, but definitely not least. Talk a little bit about, how you guys played off of each other as characters for this.
Yeah, so I think the Lennie Toby dynamic, there's a lot of push and pull where he's like, get totally drawn in, like a moth to a flame type of thing. And then you feel a little bit of the burn. And then it's like, whoa, this cannot be happening. And I think that dynamic of like, I'm all in or I'm all out is like what's happening really between Lennie and Toby. And with Josephine, she has like a background, very, very aware of movement, and like the movement of bodies. And that was like, we were pretty much working that in to all of the scenes in our rehearsal. Was like exercises where it's like pull in, pull in, pull out, pull out, pull in, pull in, pull out, pull out. Yeah, I think that dynamic is like, but we just go in, we just do every scene, it's really Josephine. You really get to see all of the other great collaborators at work when you finally see the finished product. It's one thing to see it through your own eyes as an actor. You can see the set, you can see the costume, but it pops different, with Ava's photography when it's in frame, So, just trying to focus on the scene, rehearse, and all your attention on your scene partner.
Yeah, well, I think it's done so well. I mean, I love seeing kind of the layers and the duality through movement, as you said, Pico, and so much more on screen. So just thank you so much for chatting with Nerdophiles. Really appreciate it.
Oh yeah, thanks for talking to us.
Thank you so much. Great meeting you.